Welcome to Business Builder Radio, sponsored by Texas Business Buyers, where we talk about your life and your business and getting the most out of both. Here's your host, Clint Fiore.
Hello. Welcome to Business Builder Radio. I'm your host, Clint Fiore. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can hear us at 1230 KERV or check out our podcast or our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. I'm coming to you today with kind of a heavy heart. I lost some close friends this weekend, and that's kind of had my head spinning the last few days. So bear with me. It is not easy losing people that you love. So I am excited to be here with you. To me, this is a great way to heal. Let's talk about our lives. Let's talk about doing things that we love, learning things that are going to make us all better. And I just appreciate all of you that have shown support over the last few days. So thank you very much if you're one of those people that have reached out to me and my family and shown some love. So today on Business Builder Radio, I want to talk about a topic that impacts all of us, no matter if you're a business owner or an employee, or think that this doesn't apply to you. I guarantee you it does. What we're going to talk about today is sales. And I just want to kind of go through some sales 101 stuff like I would go through with a new employee, someone that's brand new to sales. And I want you to realize that everyone is sales. Everything in life has sales. And whether you're a mom trying to get your kids to eat vegetables, or a doctor that's trying to get your patient to follow a treatment, or a traffic cop trying to get someone to comply with your commands, or a salesman like we imagine, that's selling cars or anything like that. All of us need sales skills, okay? It is instrumental to success in every area of life. Even if you're something that you think has nothing to do with sales. Say you're a scientist or an engineer or one of these technical things. You still have to sell your ideas. You still have to sell your project. And there's always people that you have to sell to. And so let's just dive right in. Let's dive right into some content here. First off, I want to explain the difference between sales and marketing. Okay. Too often I hear those words used interchangeably. Oh, he's a great marketer. He's a great salesman. I do sales and marketing, that sort of thing. And I just want to quickly say we're going to have many shows in the future about marketing, but sales is different. Okay, sales, I like to describe it as you're taking a person and guiding them to a desired outcome. Okay, marketing, I like to define as you're getting someone's attention, you're getting someone interested. Marketing is what gets them in the door. Sales is what gets them writing you the check, and basically getting them to the outcome that you desire. And again, it doesn't have to be writing a check. It could just be any outcome that you're trying to get someone to. So, marketing, anytime you're dealing with advertising, anytime you're dealing with social media, all that stuff is different parts of marketing. It's getting people to know you exist, getting people interested in what you do, and it kind of whets people's appetite. But sales is once you've got someone seeing you, once you've got someone interested in what you have to offer, how do we get them to the desired outcome? So let's dive right in. I think there is a 4-step process basically to every sale. And I'm going to describe those steps, and we're going to dive into some detail. First is building rapport, and we'll go into that. Building rapport is just getting people to like you, basically. The next step is presenting a problem. The next step is offering a solution. And the next step is closing. So there's 4 steps. That's all it is. And if you master these 4 steps, you will learn to apply them all across your life and have better outcomes with people and better people skills all across your life. So you've got to build rapport, present a problem, offer a solution, and close. So let's go into rapport. Rapport is a word that most people can't spell. A lot of people have heard. I'm going to spell it for you now for your listening pleasure. R-A-P-P-O-R-E. F-O-R-T. And if you want to remember how to spell it, just remember this. Really, all people prefer others reflecting themselves. That is how you spell rapport, and that is what rapport means. Rapport is listening. Rapport is the small talk. Rapport is before you start talking about your company, your product or service, it's getting to know them, putting your listening ears on and getting people to like you and trust you. And I want to say, rapport is the thing that nobody wants to talk about when they're hearing about sales training, but it is the most important thing, period. It's the most important step of these 4 steps. If someone doesn't trust you and they don't like you, they are never going to buy from you, period. You have the best product in the world, but if I don't like you, I don't trust you, you don't come across right, it appears that you don't care about me, you don't really care about listening to what my actual problems are, then I'm not going to buy from you, even if I have to go way out of my way to buy the product for more money somewhere else or buy a worse product. Rapport is everything. So first step, and we'll spend a little bit more time on some specific strategies on how can you build rapport. There is a good friend of mine, Michelle Van Fossen, that's in a networking group. She was on Becca's show last week, I believe, and she taught about this to our networking group. I love this teaching. She gets it from Danny Johnson, from the First Steps to Success training there. But a great way to build rapport is to remember the acronym FORM, okay, F-O-R-M. FORM means family, occupation, relationship. And then M is your message. So when you're first getting to know someone and you want to build rapport, you want them to like you and trust you, the F-O-R are safe topics that you can bring up. And the goal is you want to get someone talking. The more you're listening and the more they're talking, the more someone's going to like you. This is Dale Carnegie 101 stuff. If you've never read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, highly recommend picking it up. But when you look through the letters, family, are you married? You have any kids? These are safe questions you can ask, and you can get people answering. As you go through F-O-R, you're going to hear one-word responses at times, but if then you go on to the O, you go on to the R, eventually you're going to hit the hot button. And when you hit the hot button, that's when it's like you drop a quarter in the jukebox. They're just going to, you see someone's face light up, and they change and they start just going off about something. So sometimes it's going to be their kids. Sometimes it's going to be their job. Well, what do you do for a living? Tell me about that. How long have you been doing that? What did you do before then? You're asking about their career. You're asking about their job. That's the O. Recreation is, what do you do for fun? And get people talking about their hobbies and their passions. Odds are somewhere along the line you're going to hear something that's going to really light them up. And listen. Put on your listening ears and listen. Abraham Lincoln said if I was gonna be given 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe. Okay, this time of listening, you're sharpening your axe. You got to listen and get across the table, get what's important to them in your head so that you can form your message. We're gonna go to a break. We're gonna come right back. Let's hear from our sponsors, Texas Business Buyers. Thanks.
Thinking of starting a new business? Why not buy one instead? 80% of new business startups fail within 5 years. But if you buy an established business, you turn the odds of success in your favor. TexasBusinessBuyers.com is the place to go to find profitable, Texas-based small businesses for sale. Whether you're looking to buy a business, sell a business, or just want to know what your business is really worth today, talk to the experts at Texas Business Buyers. Visit TexasBusinessBuyers.com or call 210-774-6800. That's 210-774-6800.
Okay. Welcome back to Business Builder Radio, where we talk about your life and your business, getting the most out of both. Today is Sales 101 Day, baby. We're talking about sales, one of my favorite topics. It is something that is so important and so neglected. I think sales should be taught in schools. I think sales should be taught for people that do nonprofits. I think sales should be taught to healthcare providers. Everybody needs to learn sales, and we're going to talk about that. A little bit about my background. I have sold retail in malls and retail stores when I was a teenager. Then I went into telemarketing. I have did very well in telemarketing. I've done network marketing. I've done door-to-door sales. And then I went into, as an adult, everything from waiting tables during college, which is a lot of sales, to selling insurance, working for a nonprofit, selling the nonprofit programs. I have raised money. I have started businesses where I'm selling multi-million dollars of sales transactions at the wholesale level, and I have a lot of sales experience from different industries. And right now what I'm sharing is some of my kind of 101 insights that I think can apply to any area of life, no matter what you do. And right now we're talking through the 4 steps of sales, and we were just talking about building rapport, which is the first step and the most important step. Ultimately, what it boils down to is if you're a good listener, you're going to be a good salesman. You've got to listen to people. You have to not just be running your mouth the whole time, talking about yourself, talking about your product or service. You have to care. You have to listen to people. When people sense that sincerity, that you really care about them, you're really trying to put yourself in their shoes, they're going to open their hearts to you. Opening their heart to you is what you want for people to do business with you. You want to do business with people you know and like. So the best salesmen are the best listeners. So make sure you build rapport. Use that acronym form. Talk about family, occupation, recreation. Get them talking. Listen. And then the sales process beyond that is going to be so much easier once you've taken the time to really listen and care for the person that you're across the table from. So the next step after building rapport, step 2 of 4, is presenting a problem. Okay, you're never going to sell something to someone if they don't agree with the problem. Okay, this is super important. The way you do that, well, let's talk about the wrong way to do that. Have you ever seen those infomercials where it's like, "I'm tired of your pans falling in the trash can while you're trying to crack an egg," or something just really stupid, the black and white thing, where you're just like, actually, that's not a problem. and from then on, you could watch an hour-long infomercial, but if you don't feel like you have that problem, you're never going to pick up the phone and buy that thing, right? So unless you nail the problem, clearly define what the problem is, then you're not going to be able to help them solve their problem, which is ultimately leading to closing the deal. So it's very important that you get agreement here. Now, problems can be 3 things. They could be, I want something and I don't have it. They can be, I need something, or they can be, I have a pain and you need to solve this pain. And a lot of business people, they love thinking about, man, I want to market to somebody's pain. I want to sell to somebody's pain, because it's real easy to make a sale, right? When you're the only dentist in town and someone's got a toothache and they come in and it's just killing them. Well, how hard is it to make that sale, right? Because they have a pain. But then there's also the needs. Everybody has needs that they have to fulfill in life. And but in today's economy, just because you meet someone's needs doesn't mean they don't have options. So when my air conditioner's out, I may need you to come fix my air conditioner, but there's also 10 other people I can call to meet those needs as well. So you can be meeting needs, you can be meeting pains, and then there's wants, okay? All of these things can be phrased as problems. Even if you have a luxury product, even if you have something that isn't necessarily a need or a pain, let's say you sell a kind of car that's a sports car that can get Ferrari-type performance out of a Cadillac price tag. Well, obviously that would be not really a need. That would be a want. But you still can phrase this problem. Wouldn't it be nice if you were able to get this type of performance without having to pay that price tag, without having to mortgage a house to get this car? And so you're presenting this problem. Man, I would love to be able to do that, but there's a problem. The price tag is a problem. So you're able to start presenting your product around a problem. If you're not talking to someone that agrees that they have that problem, then you need to move on and find someone that agrees that they do have the problem that you can solve with your product or your service, okay? Spend as much time as necessary talking through the problem. Make them feel the pain, feel the problem. Moses had to wander the wilderness for 40 years before he entered into the promised land, and I want you to remember that part in sales. don't even start talking about your solution until someone has walked through the desert with you and you've seen eye to eye on what the problem is. Once you've got agreement, then you can move on to the third step, and that is offering your solution. So once you've got someone knowing, liking you, and trusting you from doing a great job of building rapport, and now you've got agreement that we have a problem, that we need to solve this problem together, then it's, well, what can you do to help? Okay, we're halfway there. So at this point, they've got to want it, and they've got to want it bad. And how you do that is you've got to start building value in your product or your service. And this is a very strategic thing. You want to talk through all the things that you can do to help them solve their problem. You have to do it from their perspective, because remember, you've listened to them, you've got agreement that they have the problem that you can solve. So then as you're describing your solution, make sure to use the words, this is an advanced tip, make sure to use the words you and yours when you're describing this. So you might say, you know, when you're sitting in this car tomorrow, you're going to feel this performance for yourself. When you're my client, you're going to get that individualized attention that you can't get anywhere else. You see how I'm saying it? It's about them. Good job. People that are great at sales, they make you feel like you're the most important person on the planet. It's not about the salesman, it's about the client. Okay? And I love talking about car sales because that's like the stereotypical salesperson, and they're so easy to pick on. But I want to talk about the difference, and maybe you've experienced this. What's a bad car salesman and what's a good car salesman? I think we've all had the bad car salesman experience, and that's when, you know, in today's world, with the internet being what it is and all this information being out there, when I go to buy a car, I pretty much already know what I want, right? And most of you do. You pretty much have it down to, you know, exactly what you're looking for, what color, what options, what about price you should pay. And you go to a car dealership, and it's just this excruciating experience half the time to try to get them to shut up, listen to you. And what is a good car salesman versus a bad car salesman? I think a bad car salesman, they come with their own agenda, and they try to persuade you to jump on board with something that you're not interested in, because you're already sold when you go in there. But they are just not getting it, and they're going to try to put you into something you don't want to get in, or at a price you don't want to pay, and you got to jump through all these hoops and play these games. I want to talk to you about a good car salesman. A buddy of mine is a car salesman here in town, Troy Faust, with Troy Faust Motors. I just want to give him a quick shout out. He did the unthinkable with me. He was the guy that got me into my first minivan. And for me, I was one of these guys that I drove a Chevelle all through college. I was like known as the muscle car guy. I was never will I drive a minivan. Never, ever, ever will I drive a minivan. And when I came into Troy's, this is when, it was probably about the third kid. I've got 4 awesome children. But once you get over 2 kids, it starts to slowly dawn on you that, you know, you start to open your heart just a little bit to the gospel of the minivan. It just is, that little ray of light starts to come through, and it starts to hit that fertile soil that third child has created in your life, and you start to become open to it. And Troy was able to be the one that closed me on getting my first minivan. And how did he do that? Did he say, Clint, you need to get a minivan, dude. Get on board here. You got 3 kids. You're probably, knowing your wife, I bet you're not even done yet, you know, and you're probably going to have a lot of kids like me. There's nothing better than a minivan. I would have pushed back, fought back. I would have had my boxing gloves on if he had done that. What he did was listen. What he did was hear me describe, I'm thinking about getting a Suburban, Troy. I'm thinking about getting this and that. But I knew that there's drawbacks to all these things. So Suburban's really hard to get in car seats in and out of into that third row. It gets horrible gas mileage, and we don't go anywhere that needs off-road on a regular basis. And I kind of knew all these things logically. So as I started talking to him and he started listening, it was like the idea didn't come from him. The idea kind of came from myself. And over time, it just kind of dawned on me. And then once the light bulb had come on through just casual conversation, then he was able to just get on my bandwagon instead of trying to get me on his bandwagon, And so once that light bulb had come on from within myself of this is what I really need, and I think I'm willing to go there, then he was able to just kind of piggyback on that and say, and did you know this, and did you know this, and did you know that they also have this feature and that feature. But it wasn't until I was in agreement with the problem and I was starting to see the light on the solution that he was able to show me the more features and benefits of them. And I'm telling you guys, I have been converted. I have seen the light. I love my minivan. I have a Honda Odyssey. I do have an F-150, by the way. I'm not just totally minivan man, but wife drives the Odyssey. Anytime we go anywhere together, we drive the Odyssey and love it. I mean, it is killer good for families. Until our kids are all out of car seats, which will be some time, we're going to be on the minivan wagon, and I think all of you should jump on the minivan wagon. So not only did I turn from a never will I get a minivan to now I'm kind of a minivan evangelist, and that is a good sales job right there, right? I mean, that is what you want. So I want you to also think through when you're building your solution for someone, I want you to think that they need to see a lot of value. And that means they need to think that whatever you're selling is going to be expensive, more expensive than it actually is. And this is a really, really big deal. Let me give you some examples. I used to sell knives in people's houses for a company called Cutco. This was when I was 18 years old, senior, or just graduated high school. I ended up becoming the #1 salesman in my branch when I was 18. One of the big lessons, I learned so many sales lessons, but one of the big things I learned was when I encountered, I was the #1 salesman at my small office in Wichita Falls, but I ran into a guy at a national conference that was selling many times more than I was, and I was kind of picking his brain about how are you selling so much more than me when we're seeing the same amount of people, we have the same amount of hours in the day. How are you closing so much more volume than I am? And he told me something. He said, I'm closing on the ultimate set. And let me put that in perspective. Cutco knives are awesome, but they are expensive. The set that everybody tries to sell is called the Homemaker, or the Homemaker Plus 8. When I was a salesman, it was $864. I'll never forget it. So I'm going into people's houses, doing this hour-long presentation. At the end, I'm trying to get them to buy an $864 set of knives, which is an expensive set of knives for most people. And generally what happens is they got really sold on, I want these knives and I want them bad and my knives do suck and I agree with you, I like you, I agree that there is a problem, I agree that you have the solution, but man, I can't overcome that price tag. So what would generally happen is we'd drop down to some lower price sets and I would end up selling them a couple $100s of knives. So on average I'm selling maybe $200 or $300 worth of knives each appointment, but this guy's selling on average $600 to $800 versus mine $300. And so that means for every person he sees, he's making twice the money I am. And his secret was, I don't sell the $864 set, I sell the $2,000 set. So there's a set that Cutco sells called the Ultimate. And the Ultimate is pretty much hilariously big. Like it is more knives than you could use in your entire life. It's almost just hilarious when you show it to people, because no one is going to buy that unless they're just a freak about knives or something. There's knives for literally everything you could possibly do with a knife, and there's like 20 table knives that come with it, steak knives, and there's just, exotic cheese knives and Asian santoku knives and stuff that you can't even pronounce in this huge block. It takes up half your counter. and so this guy, he would go in and he would get them really fired up about the knives, and then he would go to when you finally want it, he would say, okay, and here's the price. It's $2,000, and here's the set. And people's eyes would pop out of their heads when they saw this thing, and they just knew, wow, I can't do that. But he would drop down from there to the Homemaker, which is where I started. And he would close on the Homemaker, and everybody bought the Homemaker from him while they were buying the Galley or the lower price stuff from me after they said no to the Homemaker. So That's one example. Another example is I have a friend that's a contractor, and he's always kind of setting people up when he's talking to them. Yeah, I don't charge as much as other people. I don't, he's always kind of selling himself short, in my opinion. And we did some coaching on this recently. He basically is so friendly, so soft when he's selling the job that when it's a big job, and he's been so soothing and friendly that maybe he's got to ask for $10,000 to do a remodel. In the client's head, they're thinking it's going to be $3,000 or $5,000 because he's kind of played it down. And so then the big price tag shocks them, and he gets more no's. And so what I advised him to do is, if he's got to sell a $10,000 job, he's got to emphasize how much quality he's going to put into it, how expensive the pieces are that he's going to use in his materials. He's got to make them think this is a $20,000 job. And if they think it's a $20,000 job, and then it's $10,000 when the big price tag reveal comes, then wow, that's not so bad. But if they think it's $5,000 and you reveal $10,000, and that's what I'm saying, it's all relative. It's all about building the value, and then revealing the price tag to be, wow, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So no matter if you're selling something that's a $10 thing of cookies, make them think it's $20, and then reveal it's $10. If it's $1 million piece of real estate, make them think it's going to be $2 million. Then it'll be $1 million, and it's not going to sound so bad. So we're going to go to a break. We will be right back with you here on Business Builder Radio.
With SRN News, I'm Jeremy House in Washington. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is calling deadly missile attacks on medical facilities and schools in northern Syria blatant violations of international laws. Ban says close to 50 civilians, including some children, have been killed. Prosecutors in Cologne, Germany, say most of the people involved in a series of New Year's robberies and sexual assaults were refugees. Local authorities have described the crimes as unprecedented. The unexpected death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia is adding more weight to the November election, and presidential candidates are reframing the election as one that will decide the High Court's future. A new TV spot from Texas Senator Ted Cruz suggests GOP frontrunner Donald Trump would nominate more liberal justices. And an Arizona man who's set for trial this week is believed to be the first person the U.S. government has tried on terror charges linked to the Islamic State group. More details at srnews.com.
Do you have a family member who's getting older and can no longer be safely left alone? With Visiting Angels America's Choice in Senior Home Care, your parents and older family members can continue living at home and not have to move into a nursing home. Experienced, compassionate caregivers provide assistance in hygiene, meal preparation, and light housework up to 24 hours per day at affordable rates. To restore your family's peace of mind, call Visiting Angels toll-free today at 877-374-LIVE or at visitingangels.com.
Are you a responsible person who finds yourself growing deeper in credit card debt? Then get ready for a toll-free number that will put you on a path to financial recovery. Trinity Debt Management will consolidate your accounts and work with your creditors. You'll save thousands and become debt-free for keeps. If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. 1-800-990-6976. 1-800-990-6976.
Your first alert forecast for the rest of the day today. We can expect sunshine out there with daytime highs around 74 degrees, Kerrville, Fredericksburg. Lower to middle 70s, pretty common area-wide. Looking at northerly winds, 10 to 15 miles per hour, occasionally gusty through at least the mid-afternoon hours. Low humidity values, some elevated fire dangers. Tonight, clear skies, overnight lows 35 to 40 degrees. Above normal temperatures are expected most of our upcoming work week.
Welcome back to Business Builder Radio. So glad to have you with me. We are talking about sales today. Sales 101. No matter what you do in life, you need to know how to sell. And so we're just talking through the 4 steps in this process right now. We've talked through step 1, building rapport, making people know you, like you, trust you, mainly by listening. We've talked through presenting the problem, which is you have to have people believe that they have a problem if you're going to be able to offer them a solution. So don't even bother. don't even bother trying to give someone a solution to a product they think they do not, a problem they think they don't have. How many of you have tried to do that before? I mean, that is not a good thing to do. Parents, you may have had that experience with if your kid doesn't think something's a problem, are they going to change their behavior? So same thing in sales. If someone doesn't believe they have a problem, then they're not interested in your solution. And then step 3 is presenting your solution and how you've got to build value. You've got to build value where people are going to say, man, I do have a problem, and this is going to be the perfect solution. And then they're just wondering, man, I hope I can afford it. Once you've done your job building value, and they think it's going to be this expensive, awesome solution, and then you reveal it's actually not as expensive as you think, then you're right on your way to closing the deal. Step 4 in the 4-step process is closing. So I want to spend a good amount of time talking about closing. Closing is something that is universally scary to people. It's that point where, gulp, you've done all this work, you've set the stage, and now it's time to actually close the deal, to get them to sign the contract, to pull out the money, to make the commitment. And guys, I keep saying this over and over, but everything is sales. And so if you're like my wife is amazing. She runs a volunteer group, a group for moms called MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers, and she has to get volunteers to commit to do service positions in this organization. And any of you that have wrangled volunteers, that is sales. That is the hardest sales job there is. Because you're not just asking for people. I mean, I think it's almost easier to get somebody to pull out a checkbook and pay you for a product or service than to say, man, you've got to care and you've got to spend your time. And time, we all know, is our most valuable resource. And when you're asking for volunteer, you're asking for the most valuable thing someone has is their time. And so whether you run volunteers, run a nonprofit, or a doctor that needs to get buy-in from a patient for a treatment that's going to save their life, all of those things are sales. It's getting a person to the outcome that you want. Okay, so once you've been through the first 3 steps, and we have to close, we have to get the outcome. So if you've done a really good job, and this is the most exciting part, is when people close themselves. And if you do these 3 steps that I described, where they love you, they like you and trust you, they know that you're on their side, you've listened to them, they know that they have a problem, and they love the solution that you have, then they're going to start asking you questions. They're going to start saying, well, how soon can you get that in? What's your schedule look like next week? Can you get me in for that appointment? Do you have that in my Keller? All those are, when you hear those things, that is, to a salesman, that is music to your ears, because that means they're sold. They're sold, baby. When they're asking you a closing question, do you have a payment plan for that? Those are all things that should be ringing your bell saying, wow, this person is in. This is a closing question. And once you start hearing closing questions, you just answer the questions and you're done. But there's sometimes where they're still, you're not sure if they're ready to be closed or not. Then what you do is you just keep circling back. And how you do that is you maintain control of the conversation by asking questions. And so if they're not asking closing questions themselves, you ask questions. You ask questions to confirm that they do have a problem that you could solve. Do they have any questions about your solution? Do they have any questions about your product or your service? Make sure that they understand that they do have a problem. Make sure that they understand that you have a great solution. And make sure you've gotten all of the objections and questions out of the way before you close. And once you've done that, the close should come very naturally. My favorite way to close, and this is worth the price of admission for listening to this show, is I have a technique I do for closing. I think I learned it maybe in Cutco days, but I've applied it in 10 businesses since then, and it works no matter what you're selling, whether it's $1 million thing or a volunteer or a $5 thing or whatever. It's the same thing. You ask A or B. It's not yes or no, it's A or B. Yes or no is scary. It's scary to you and it's scary to them. So do you want to buy it? That's like, ugh. You feel that that clinch in your chest, and that says, man, that's a lot of pressure. Pressure, people don't want to feel that pressure. It needs to be natural. And so to me, the way you take away the pressure of the close is you make it an easy, once you're convinced someone's on board with the problem, with the solution, they like you, then you ask an A or B question. So if they're at the cash register, you think they're going to buy this thing, it could be, all right, you want to pay by check or credit card? Cash or check? But it's not buy or not buy. Does that make sense? Do you want this in red or do you want this in blue? Do you want the large or the medium? Do you want to do the monthly plan or the weekly plan? Would you like to be the volunteer coordinator for the children, or do you think the secretary position would be more your style? Do you want to go on at 2 o'clock or at 4 o'clock? Was Monday or Wednesday better for you? Are you getting the theme here? I hope you're getting the point. There's a million ways to ask an A-B closing question, but none of them are, do you want it or do you not want it? Okay, it's Monday or Tuesday. It's all those things are closing questions, and sometimes a sale isn't. In fact, most of the times, if you have a business that involves anything complicated or expensive, most of the time, all of this doesn't happen in one sitting. Sometimes it's you know what, I'm going to call them, and we go through the same 4 steps, but the goal, the close, is I have to get an appointment to go see them, okay? And that's the desired outcome. So you go through that 4-step sales process, and you get to that appointment. Then at that appointment, I've got to get permission to go to the next step, or whatever. And you define what that outcome is, and then the same 4 steps I described, you apply towards any desired outcome. And when I've got a 2-year-old, I want her to eat broccoli tonight. Well, the same 4 steps apply. The desired outcome is we're going to get some broccoli eaten tonight. That's kind of my basic 4 steps of closing. Another tip on selling, and another tip on closing the deal, is never be pushy. Okay, if you're going to do something to create urgency, do it in a matter-of-fact way, not in a twisting your arm kind of way. So that might be, you can, let's say Troy, for example, on the minivan story, he could say, all right, Clint, I'll give you a better deal if you if you buy it today. Like, that's pushy. That's twisting my arm, and that's just saying, man, you're trying to manipulate me. Nobody likes to be manipulated. People are smarter than that. So a way you could create urgency without being manipulative is just to tell a story. These vans, we don't get very many of them in. The Honda Odyssey is very popular. Last time, it sold in less than 24 hours. We just got this in today. And I'm connecting the dots. I'm feeling the urgency come up from within me, but at no point is he forcing me or trying to manipulate me to buy it. He's just telling me a story. We're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about phone sales techniques. I have several of those, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about Sales 101 and some key takeaways. Thank you for listening to Business Builder Radio.
Getting ready to sell your business? You've worked hard to make a name and reputation for your business, but it's time to retire. Let Texas Business Buyers find your ideal business buyer to continue your legacy and help you receive the reward you deserve for your life's work as an entrepreneur. Whether you're looking for a business to buy, sell a business, or you just want to know what your business is really worth today, talk to the experts at Texas Business Buyers. Visit TexasBusinessBuyers.com or call 210-774-6800. That's 210-774-6800.
All right. Welcome back to Business Builder Radio. We talk about your life, your business, getting the most out of both. Today's theme of the show is Sales 101. Thank you so much for listening in. We will have a podcast coming up, so check that out. If you want to hear what's up with this business, go to facebook.com/Texas Business Buyers, where we're going to have show notes and link to the we'll link to the video and podcast as those come available. We are live on the internet as well as on 1230 KERV. If you have any sales-oriented questions you want to ask that you want me to answer on a later show, go ahead and email me. It's Clint, CLINT, at TexasBusinessBuyers.com. My website, of course, TexasBusinessBuyers.com, is a great way to find me and hear about what my business is all about. So we're talking about sales. We just talked about closing. Closing should be very natural. It shouldn't be high pressure. If you've done your job with the first 3 steps, closing is the easiest. Closing is hard when you try to close a deal too early. Another note I want to throw in here is nothing is more frustrating to me than when I'm ready to be closed and someone doesn't close me. Let me give you an example. I go in somewhere, like let's say I go into the AT&T store to get a new cell phone. Again, this is the age of the internet. Everybody has their opinions. You know, do you like Mac or PC? You know, what do you like, Android or iOS? You know exactly what phone you want. Most of us do. My generation does. So when I go in, I just want my phone as quickly as possible. I'm sold. Just give me my phone. If I go in to the store and I say I'm looking for the iPhone 6 Plus, 64 gigabyte, or whatever it is, and you start saying, well, yeah, we have that, and check out this one over here, check out that one over here, then I'm going to start getting annoyed really quick because I don't want the other one. I want that one, okay? I've already told you that. And then if you start to sell me on the iPhone 6 Plus that I'm already sold on, I'm also going to get annoyed, okay? Like, you just want to, if I come in ready to pull out my wallet and buy it, you got to just give me what I want. You got to take my money in an efficient way and give me a pat on the head, give me a pat on the back. Great choice, or like that. I love that one. That's a great phone. And that is something that I think people are so afraid to close a sale sometimes that they don't even do it when it's the thing that is the most natural. And they want to keep selling you. Everybody loves talking about the solution. Everybody loves talking about their product or service. But there comes a time where we've agreed on the problem. We've agreed on the solution. I am sold, and it's time to get my money. Okay? That is a pet peeve of mine. Do not do that. When people are ready, oblige them. When people are ready to pull out of the wallet. How annoying is it when you've had a great dinner at a restaurant and you can't get the bill? You know, and you might have had the best server in the world. I've had this happen so many times. I've had a great server, a great meal, everything's great. I've got somewhere to go, I've got something to do, and I have to keep asking, can I please pay? And all of a sudden, my judgmentalness is starting to come out of, man, maybe this server isn't that good. They can't give me my check. And maybe that 20-25% tip, maybe that should just be 15% now because they're not letting me get out of here. And there's no excuse for that. When people are ready to pay, let them pay. And if you go through these steps, they will be ready to pay. And so closing should just be the most natural thing in the world. I want to talk about selling over the phone. This is something that is a bit of an art form in and of itself, but there's a few tips that I want to just throw out there that I learned in telemarketing. And a quick story there was I was 15 years old working for my family's nursery business, which means it was North Texas, 100 degrees, loading sod in trucks, loading bags of dirt, getting dirty, sweaty every day, and just manual labor boy. That was me. I discovered there's jobs that have air conditioning. And when I was 15, 16 years old, and I heard they were looking for telemarketers at a call center. And nobody wants to be a telemarketer, but when you're just doing manual labor all day long and just sweating all day long, anything that air conditioning sounded good to me. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll just go get hung up on and get paid more and be in air conditioning. That's fine. I was super excited about that. So my first sales job ever was telemarketing. And I went in there like every other person where you're getting paid by the hour. You just show up. You get hung up on. The script pops up in front of you. You half, you know what it. And one day this light bulb came off. And I realized, you know, I'm going to be sitting in here anyways, enjoying this wonderful air conditioning and getting hung up on. I might as well have some fun. I might as well make a game of this. And I saw somebody at this place that was making twice as much money as me because they were just actually trying to make sales. And nine times out of 10, all the people around me were just cubicle dwellers, half-heartedly reading this script and not making any sales. And I just decided, you know what? I want to see if I could beat that person's number this hour. Because they had like hourly metrics of who made the most sales and these different programs and stuff. And so I just started emulating people and learning some tricks. And I've used these all through different sales careers, the tricks I picked up in telemarketing. I want to share some of those with you today. One is smile. When you're on the phone, smile. And believe it or not, you can hear a smile through a phone. And for those of you listening by radio right now, I want you to know I'm smiling right now. And I think if you just pay attention, I just ramped up my smile quite a bit right now, and versus how I was just a minute ago. And I'm just trying to demonstrate that. I'm smiling really big right now, and there's just something that changes in your voice, and people sense that friendliness, they sense that happiness, and that helps you build rapport and close more deals over the phone. So smile when you're on the phone. Sit up straight. Your posture matters. And better than that, I like to stand up. So when I'm on the phone, especially when I'm doing something sales on the phone, I stand up. And you can ask Brad, who works with me, drives him crazy because I walk around the conference table like it's a racetrack, and that, you know, we'll just wear a circuit around our office because I sell better when I'm standing up and walking around. That energy of just being up and bringing my whole self to the sales call really translates well over the phone. Another thing I learned is really you want to match yourself to your audience on the phone. It is more important than any other time. So at this call center, when I did telemarketing, we sold all over the country. So I would be calling someone in Alabama one minute, and then I'd be calling someone in New Jersey the next minute. And wouldn't you know it, people talk very differently in Alabama than they do in New Jersey. And so depending on who I was talking to, what you want to do is match the speed and inflection of their voice with your voice. And that's going to make it sound like you're seeing eye to eye, even though you can't see each other. The speed and the cadence and canter of the conversation. So if you're talking with someone from the South that just wants to, you know, I had that problem just yesterday, you need to respond with well, I understand. I talked to someone just yesterday that had that problem as well. And I'm just kind of matching things with them. If you're talking to someone from New Jersey that's like, all right, get to the point. What are you selling? What do you want to know? And you come back with, sir, I'm trying to tell you, you know, like they'll hang up on you immediately because they don't have time for that. If they're talking fast, you talk fast. If they're talking slow, don't talk fast. Don't run over them with this runaway freight train speed that the New Jersey person might have. I'm just stereotyping here, but it does hold up sometimes. So match their style with your style. What else do I got here? Dress for success. Same thing as smiling. If you look good and you smile, you do better over the phone. So dress well. Even if you're going to have a day where you're in your garage making sales calls all day, dress up like you're going to work. Show up, put on a smile, stand up, sit up straight, and make those phone calls, and you're gonna sell so much more and do so much better at it. And you know, moms, volunteers, other people do the same thing. You'll feel better about yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the more confidence you will have, and that confidence gets projected through that phone. And so make sure you do that. Let's move on to email sales. This is a big way people sell today. Emails are definitely part of my sales process. I send more emails than I make phone calls nowadays. To me, the biggest thing to remember, there's a couple things about selling via email. One is people, if there's a way to read it wrong, they will. So you want to go over the top. When you write an email message, think it through, read it through. If there's a negative way to interpret what you said, don't send it, because people will read it the negative way. If you say, like, if you're typing it and in your head you're reading, I guess that'll work, and you send that, people are going to read it like, I guess that will work. You know, like that. You see the difference when you're talking. You're gonna hear, you can hear when somebody means I'm mad, I'm disappointed, and people just have this tendency to read things in a negative light. So if you want to say I guess that'll work in an email, you better put some exclamation marks and hearts and smileys or something behind it, and use emojis. Even use overboard punctuation. Say just kidding in parentheses. If you're kidding, say just kidding. Because if you don't, people will think you're not kidding. People read things in black and white very literally, and they read things in negative connotations. You have to just go over the top, explaining yourself like sarcasm doesn't exist. And all of that will translate into an email. So make sure you say what you mean, that you overly explain something if you need to make sure there's no double meaning possible in email, because people will read it wrong. The other thing is, with an email, you want it to be short and concise. I think it's something like more than half of emails now are read on cell phones. If I have to scroll and scroll with my thumb on my cell phone, I just end up not reading it and putting it off, and you don't really get that message through. So make sure, send it to yourself. If you're wondering, if you can't see that whole email on your cell phone in one screen, then odds are people aren't going to read it. Like, it's very low likelihood that people are going to read it through. People have the shortest attention spans. They're getting bombarded with emails. Get to the point, and get to the point quickly. So short and concise is the name of the game. Type like you talk. You're not writing an essay. Just go from the heart, just like you're talking to someone. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about punctuation so much. Worry about conveying the message in a short, concise way and doing it like you talk. So that's some of my tips for phone and email. Guys, this is what I want to do. I want to add value to your life as a small business person. This show was my first one. I'm sorry that it's just me talking the whole time right now, but I hope that you've received some value here. In the future, we're going to have many guests on the show. We're going to tell stories of business owners that are doing it and doing it right, that are going out there and taking risks and winning. And we're going to show you their tips and tricks. What I want this to be is not just me ranting all the time. I want it to be something that you can come to the table for an hour each week and really learn something that's going to enrich your life and your business, help you get the most out of both. If you have show ideas, or if you have a question you want me to address on the show, drop me that email, Clint, C-L-I-N-T, at texasbusinessbuyers.com. I'd love to hear your show ideas. I would love to hear what you're interested in and provide that value. If you've got someone you think I should interview on the show, drop me their information, and I want to interview them for this show. I want to thank you all for joining me. This has been a great time. Last week, I wasn't able to get the show started. I was in Dallas at a training for business certified appraisals. I want to emphasize something with you, just as a quick plug for my business, is if you have a small business and you need to know what it's worth, that's something that I do. Brad Robertson and myself are both business certified appraisers. We are experts at valuing companies. If you want us to take a look at your business, you can go to texasbusinessbuyers.com. Click, I'm just going to go look at the top here. Click Value Builder at the top. Take a quick quiz. Give me some information about your business. I'll come back with a free assessment on what I think your business is worth today and ways you can increase the value. If you're ready to sell your business, just let me know. It's been a pleasure having you with me today, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks for listening, Business Builder Radio.